Welcome to another deep dive, everybody.
Yeah.
Today, we are going to be cracking open one of history's most influential and mysterious books, the Bible.
Yeah.
And we're not just hitting the highlights here, folks. We are exploring 7 of the most impactful mysteries
That's right.
hidden within its pages.
Absolute.
So if you're ready to uncover some fascinating facts and gain a deeper understanding of these ancient texts, well, then let's get started.
Doesn't matter if you are a Bible whiz or just starting to explore its stories.
Right.
We got something for you.
Yeah.
We'll be delving into the historical context, the cultural significance, and even some scientific theories that intertwine with these biblical mysteries.
All right, so to kick things off,
Okay.
let's start with something I bet you haven't heard before.
All right.
Shakespeare in the Psalms.
What?
Now, you've probably heard of the King James Bible.
Of course.
But did you know there's a theory that Shakespeare himself might have contributed to its translation?
Interesting.
Specifically to Psalm 46.
Okay, I'm listening.
This is a good one.
It's wild. I know.
Yeah.
The theory hinges on the fact that Shakespeare was 46
Okay.
when the King James Bible was completed.
All right.
And if you count 46 words into Psalm 46, you find shake.
Way.
And 46 words back from the end, spare.
Whoa.
Coincidence?
That's pretty wild.
Maybe not. But let's consider the historical context for a moment.
Okay, yeah, because just finding his name tucked away just seems a bit too easy.
Way too easy. So what's the more likely explanation?
Yeah, was Shakespeare really moonlighting as a biblical translator?
I mean, it's possible, right?
Well, while we all love a good conspiracy theory,
Sure.
the more plausible explanation lies in understanding the culture
Okay.
surrounding the King James Bible's creation. Back then, translators often paid homage to influential figures.
That's true.
Knowing Shakespeare's love for the Psalms.
It's highly probable that one of the translators slipped in this little tribute as a nod to the bard.
A secret shout-out
Yeah.
from one literary great to another.
Exactly.
That actually makes a lot of sense.
It does.
I mean, it speaks volumes about Shakespeare's impact that even the translators of the King James Bible felt compelled to acknowledge him in such a subtle way.
Exactly. It's a testament to his enduring legacy.
Yeah.
That his presence, real or imagined,
Right.
is felt even within these sacred texts.
All right, so now on to mystery number 6.
Okay.
Which takes us to the infamous cities of Sodom and Gomorrah.
Ooh, Sodom and Gomorrah.
You know the story, sin, fire, brimstone, total destruction.
Yeah, it's a classic.
Pretty dramatic stuff.
For sure.
But here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
What if this catastrophic event wasn't just a biblical tale, but an actual historical occurrence potentially caused by a meteor explosion?
Whoa, hold on.
I know, right?
A meteor. Okay.
So the Bible describes a sudden fiery destruction,
Yeah.
and scientists have theorized that a massive meteor airburst
Okay.
could have been responsible.
Wow.
We're talking an explosion thousands of times more powerful than the bomb dropped on Hiroshima,
Seriously.
potentially capable of wiping out entire cities in an instant.
That's incredible.
So are we talking divine intervention or a cosmic accident?
Well, that's the fascinating part. We have the biblical account,
Right.
which attributes the destruction to divine judgment. And then we have scientific evidence suggesting a possible natural disaster.
Yeah.
It's that interception of faith and science.
Right.
It's where things get really thought-provoking.
It really makes you think.
It does.
And, you know, it's a good reminder that there are often multiple perspectives to consider
Yeah.
when approaching these ancient stories.
Absolutely.
And speaking of multiple perspectives,
Oh,
there's another intriguing layer to the Sodom and Gomorrah story. Lot's fate after escaping the city.
Oh, yeah. What happened to him?
Well, he flees with his daughters to a cave
Okay.
where, according to the Bible, they end up
Oh, no.
getting him drunk and,
Oh, this doesn't sound good.
well, let's just say the situation takes a rather disturbing turn.
All right, moving on.
It's a dark twist to a story already filled with warnings about sin and punishment.
Yeah.
Definitely not the happy ending you'd expect for someone who just escaped divine destruction.
Nope. Not at all.
Okay, ready for mystery number 5.
Hit me.
This one plays on our collective fascination with the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse.
Ah, yes. War, famine, pestilence, and death.
Those iconic harbingers of doom.
Right.
But you might be surprised to learn
Okay.
that there's actually a 5th horseman lurking in the biblical text.
A fifth horseman.
I know, right?
Who is this mysterious writer, and why does everyone always forget about him?
Well, his name is Hades.
Hades.
And while the Four Horsemen are often in the spotlight,
Right?
Hades tends to get overlooked.
Yeah, I guess so.
Perhaps because his presence adds an even more chilling layer
Ooh.
to the apocalyptic vision.
Okay, I see.
So what does Hades represent in this context?
Yeah, is it simply about death, or is there something more to it?
Hades isn't just about death.
Okay.
It represents the underworld itself,
Oh, wow.
following close on the heels of death.
So it's like saying even death isn't the end of the story.
Right.
There's a whole other realm waiting beyond.
Exactly, adding another level of terror to the apocalypse.
Wow, that definitely adds a whole new dimension to the Four Horsemen and their message.
It does.
I wonder why Hades doesn't get more attention.
Right.
Maybe he's just too scary for people to handle.
He's a downer.
Yeah.
But his presence in the biblical text certainly deepens the apocalyptic narrative, adding a layer of complexity that's often missed in popular depictions.
Right.
Okay. Mystery number 4 might hit a little close to home for some.
Okay.
This one delves into the end times and how the Bible addresses it through prophecies.
All right.
Jesus himself predicted a world filled with tribulations and societal upheaval before the end,
It's true.
describing a time when nation will rise against nation and love will grow cold.
Powerful words.
They are. And what's fascinating about these prophecies
Yeah.
is how they seem to resonate with contemporary events.
Interesting.
Look at the rising global tensions, the escalating conflicts, particularly in the Middle East.
Yeah.
It almost mirrors the biblical descriptions of a king of the north clashing with Israel,
It really makes you think.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's almost as if history is repeating itself, but on a global scale.
Yeah.
And it definitely makes you wonder if these ancient prophecies are more than just stories.
Right. But while we can draw parallels, we must remember that interpreting prophecies is complex.
For sure.
Right.
Yeah.
We each have to decide for ourselves how relevant they are to our world today and what, if any, message they hold for us.
Okay, now for a mystery, that might challenge some of your preconceived notions about the afterlife.
Okay.
The true nature of hell. We all have that image of a fiery underworld demons with pitchforks, eternal torment.
Yeah, the classic.
But the Bible actually paints a much more nuanced picture.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
So it's fascinating how the concept of hell has evolved over time, often influenced by cultural interpretations and artistic depictions. But the words hell, as we understand it today, doesn't really capture the full meaning of the original Hebrew and Greek terms.
Okay.
Words like Sheol and Hades,
Right.
often translated as hell,
Yeah.
actually refer to the grave or the realm of the dead,
Yeah.
not necessarily a place of eternal suffering.
Huh. So no fire and brimstone, no devil with a pitchfork.
Nope.
Okay, so what does the Bible actually say happens to those who don't make the cut?
Well, think of it this way. The Bible often uses fire as a symbol of destruction, not endless torture. It suggests that the wicked are ultimately destroyed rather than subjected to everlasting punishment.
That's a pretty big difference from the hellfire and damnation sermons we're used to hearing.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it really makes you think about how our understanding of these concepts has evolved over time.
It really does.
Yeah.
It all comes back to interpretation, doesn't it?
Yes. So.
The Bible is full of symbolism and metaphor.
Right.
And over the centuries, different interpretations have emerged, shaping how we understand these concepts today.
Interesting.
Okay, mystery number 2 takes us back to the brutal reality of ancient warfare.
All right.
Imagine a city under siege, completely surrounded by enemies, no supplies, no escape.
I can't even imagine.
The desperation and suffering would be unimaginable.
But it would be awful.
It would. And the Bible contains several prophecies warning the Israelites about turning away from God, including vivid descriptions of these sieges
Right.
and their devastating consequences.
Yeah, and one of the most disturbing details found in these prophecies is the prediction of parents resorting to cannibalism
Oh my gosh.
out of sheer desperation during famines caused by sieges.
Yeah, cannibalism, that's a pretty horrific thought.
It is.
So were these prophecies just stories, or did they actually come true?
Well, here's where it gets even more unsettling.
Okay.
These prophecies, as horrific as they seem, were rooted in the harsh realities of ancient warfare. We have historical accounts, including the Siege of Samaria, documented in the Bible, which describe mothers driven to such extremes that they made pacts to eat their own children to survive.
That is just awful.
Yeah.
Such a heart-wrenching story that truly highlights the devastating impact of war on individuals and communities.
Yeah, it's just unimaginable.
But it also raises the question, are these accounts just biblical stories?
Right.
Or is there evidence to support them?
Well, here's where archaeology comes in. Archaeological evidence has confirmed that acts of cannibalism, as horrifying as they are, were a documented reality.
Really?
During sieges, these weren't just stories. They reflect the brutal truth of what people endured during these times of extreme desperation.
It's a stark reminder that even the most gruesome details found in the Bible often have a basis in historical reality.
Absolutely.
And now for the moment we've all been waiting for.
Okay.
Mystery number 1, the enduring enigma of the beast, also known as 666.
Here we go.
This is arguably the most famous and terrifying mystery in the Bible, often associated with the Antichrist.
Yeah, the beast 666.
So the book of Revelation paints a vivid picture of the beast.
Okay.
A 7-headed, 10-horned monster rising from the sea, ridden by a prostitute representing the corrupt city of Babylon.
Talk about nightmare fuel.
I know.
So what does it all mean?
Right?
Is the beast a literal creature?
Right.
A symbolic representation of evil, or something else entirely?
Well, that's the enduring mystery, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
These monstrous descriptions are likely allegorical, representing oppressive empires and powers throughout history.
Okay.
Rather than a literal creature lurking in the depths.
Gotcha. So not a real monster, but perhaps a symbol of something even more terrifying.
Right.
The potential for human corruption and tyranny on a massive scale.
Exactly. And that number 666, it's become almost synonymous with evil and the Antichrist.
Right.
Why has it captured our imaginations for so long?
It's a good question.
Oh.
You know, the number 666 has spawned countless interpretations and theories.
Throughout history, its true meaning remains a mystery, fueling endless fascination and debate.
It's one of those mysteries that just keeps on giving.
Yeah.
It seems some mysteries are meant to stay unsolved,
Yeah.
their ambiguity prompting us to dig deeper and grapple with their potential significance.
I like that.
Well, we've certainly uncovered some fascinating mysteries in this first part of our deep dive.
Yeah.
But we're just getting started. There's much more to explore, so stay tuned for part 2, where we'll delve even deeper into the enigmatic world of the Bible and its captivating mysteries.
We'll be right back.
See you then.
All right, so where were we?
Well, we were talking about the number 666.
Oh, right, 666.
Yeah, so before we move on to a new mystery, I wanted to kind of pick back up on that idea that the number 666, so often associated with the beast and the Antichrist, might hold a deeper meaning beyond just representing evil.
Yeah, it's certainly a number that has captured the imagination for centuries.
Inspiring countless interpretations. Some scholars believe it's not meant to be taken literally, but rather as a coded message.
Ooh.
Possibly referring to a specific person or empire during the time the book of Revelation was written.
So like a secret code hidden in plain sight.
Exactly.
I can see how that would make it even more intriguing.
Yeah, and, you know, it speaks to the idea that the Bible, beyond its religious significance, also serves as a historical document, reflecting the anxieties and concerns of the time.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, it encourages us to consider the historical context in which these texts were written, you know, understanding that they might hold meanings beyond what's immediately apparent on the surface.
Okay, so let's shift gears to a mystery that might challenge some traditional views on the afterlife.
Okay.
The true nature of hell. Most people imagine, you know, a fiery pit of eternal torment.
Yeah.
But as we mentioned before, the Bible's depiction is much more nuanced.
It's fascinating how the concept of hell has evolved over time, often influenced by, you know, cultural interpretations and artistic depictions.
Right.
But the words often translated as hell in the Bible don't necessarily align with those images.
Right. We talked about Sheol and Hades,
Yes.
which often get translated as hell, but really refer to the grave or the realm of the dead in general.
That's right.
So what does that tell us about what the Bible actually teaches about the afterlife?
Well, it suggests that the concept of hell as a place of eternal torment might not be as clear-cut as many believe. Instead of fire and brimstone, the Bible often uses fire as a symbol of destruction, suggesting that the wicked might be ultimately annihilated rather than subjected to endless suffering.
That's definitely a different perspective than what many have come to believe.
It is, and it makes you wonder where those ideas about eternal torment originated and how they became so deeply ingrained in our culture.
It really does. It's a testament to the power of interpretation and how our understanding of these ancient texts can be shaped by, cultural and historical factors.
Right.
It's a good reminder to always approach these topics with a critical eye and the willingness to consider alternative viewpoints.
I agree with that.
Speaking of alternative viewpoints,
Okay.
let's journey back to a time when warfare was a brutal and unrelenting affair.
All right.
We're talking about ancient siege warfare,
Oh, siege warfare.
a tactic that involved cutting off a city's supplies and escape routes,
Brutal.
leading to unimaginable suffering.
Yeah, the Bible offers chilling accounts of these sieges,
Okay.
often framing them as consequences of turning away from God. And one of the most disturbing prophecies
Oh, yeah.
describes parents driven to a truly unthinkable act
Great.
due to the extreme famine brought on by a siege.
You're talking about cannibalism, right?
Yes.
It's a truly horrific thought, and it makes you question how much of these prophecies were meant to be taken literally.
Well, here's where it gets even more unsettling. These prophecies, as horrific as they seem, were rooted in the harsh realities of ancient warfare.
Oh, wow.
We have historical accounts, including the siege of Samaria,
Right.
documented in the Bible, which describe mothers making pacts to eat their own children out of desperation to survive.
That's just awful. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just a heart-wrenching story that highlights the unimaginable length that people would go to during times of extreme desperation.
Yeah, it's just unimaginable.
And what's even more chilling is that these accounts aren't just biblical stories. They're backed up by archaeological evidence.
Exactly. Archaeological findings have confirmed that acts of cannibalism, while difficult to comprehend today,
Yeah.
were a documented reality during sieges.
Wow.
This evidence adds a layer of historical weight to the biblical accounts, demonstrating that even the most gruesome details
Right.
often reflected the brutal realities of the time.
It's a side of history that we don't often hear about, but it's important to remember that these events were very real for the people who lived through them. Now let's shift gears to a mystery that connects the Bible to one of the greatest literary figures of all time,
Okay, who are we talking about?
William Shakespeare.
Ah, Shakespeare.
The theory that Shakespeare might have contributed to the King James Bible, specifically the Book of Psalms,
It's a theory that has captivated scholars and Shakespeare enthusiasts alike
for centuries.
for centuries.
We talked about the Shakespeare and the Psalms theory earlier, specifically the alleged hidden message in Psalm 46, where the words shake and spare appear strategically placed, seemingly corresponding to Shakespeare's age at the time.
Right, but is there any real evidence to suggest he was involved in the translation process?
Well, while the theory is certainly intriguing, there's no concrete proof to support the claim that Shakespeare directly contributed to the King James Bible.
So no smoking gun?
No smoking gun.
Yeah.
It's more likely, as we discussed, that a translator aware of Shakespeare's love for the Psalms included this subtle tribute as a nod to the bard.
So it's more of a literary Easter egg than a definitive historical connection?
Exactly. But it still speaks to the enduring fascination with both Shakespeare and the Bible and how they continue to intersect in unexpected ways.
Absolutely. It's a testament to the power of these texts to spark the imagination and inspire endless speculation and debate.
Speaking of sparking the imagination, let's revisit the story of Sodom and Gomorrah.
Sodom and Gomorrah. Those cities are practically synonymous with sin and divine retribution.
They are.
The biblical account describes them being consumed by fire and brimstone, leaving a powerful warning about the consequences of wickedness.
Right, but what if I told you there's a scientific theory that might offer a different perspective on this event?
A scientific theory? Okay, I'm listening.
You're talking about the meteor theory.
A meteor theory, the idea that a massive meteor airburst might have been responsible for the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah.
Uh-huh.
It's a theory that has gained traction in recent years, and it's certainly fascinating to consider.
So instead of divine fire raining down from heaven,
Yeah,
we're talking about a cosmic explosion.
exactly.
That would certainly explain the sudden and catastrophic destruction described in the Bible.
Scientists have theorized that a meteor airburst, an explosion thousands of times more powerful than the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima, could have occurred near these cities.
Wow.
The intense heat from such an explosion would have instantly killed thousands, ignited fires, and caused widespread devastation,
Wow.
mirroring the biblical account of fire and brimstone.
It's amazing to think about how science and religion, often viewed as separate domains,
Yeah,
can intersect in such unexpected ways.
it's true.
It challenges us to consider different perspectives and explore the potential interplay between natural phenomena and human interpretation.
And it reminds us that the line between myth and reality can sometimes be blurry, especially when dealing with ancient stories and events.
Speaking of blurring the lines between myth and reality, let's delve back into the concept of hell.
All right, so we've established that the traditional fire and brimstone imagery of hell
Yeah.
might not be entirely accurate based on the original biblical terms.
But if Sheol and Hades just refer to the realm of the dead in general,
Right.
what does that tell us about what happens to the wicked after they die?
That's a good question.
That's a question that has sparked countless theological debates
Throughout history.
throughout history. While the Bible doesn't explicitly describe eternal torment
Right.
in the way we often imagine it does use the imagery of fire to symbolize destruction.
So instead of being tortured for eternity, the wicked might be ultimately destroyed.
It is, and it highlights the importance of carefully examining the language and symbolism
Right.
used in the Bible rather than relying solely on popular interpretations or artistic depictions.
It also reminds us that there are multiple ways to interpret these ancient texts, and our understanding of these concepts can evolve as we delve deeper into their historical and cultural contexts.
That's right. It's a constant process of discovery and reevaluation.
Okay. Are you ready to tackle another mystery?
Bring it on.
This one involves one of the most enigmatic and debated figures in the Bible.
The Antichrist.
The Antichrist, now that's a name that has inspired fear and fascination for centuries.
It has.
But who is this mysterious figure, and what role do they play in biblical prophecy? It's a question that has sparked countless interpretations and even conspiracy theories throughout history.
Yeah, the Bible, particularly the book of Revelation, paints a pretty terrifying picture.
Yeah.
A figure who opposes everything good and holy, rising to power in the end times to deceive and ultimately destroy. And of course, we can't forget the association with the beast and the number 666, which just adds to the mystery and the sense of dread.
Exactly. The beast, the Antichrist, and the number 666 have become intertwined in popular culture,
Right.
representing the ultimate embodiment of evil. But is the Antichrist meant to be taken literally as a specific individual who will emerge in the future?
Right.
Or is it a symbolic representation of the forces of evil that have existed throughout history?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is, and it's one that has been debated for centuries with no definitive answer.
Maybe that's the point.
And perhaps that's part of what makes it so compelling. The ambiguity surrounding the Antichrist allows it to transcend time and context,
Yeah.
serving as a timeless warning about the potential for evil and deception to infiltrate even the highest levels of power.
It's a reminder that we must always be vigilant and discerning, especially when confronted with figures who claim to hold ultimate authority or offer easy solutions to complex problems.
Absolutely.
Okay, are you ready for another literary mystery?
I'm all ears.
Let's circle back to the potential connection between William Shakespeare and the King James Bible.
Ah, yes, the theory that Shakespeare might have had a hand in the translation of the Psalms.
It's a story that never seems to get old, does it?
Never gets old.
It's certainly an intriguing idea. We've talked about the placement of the word shake and spare in Psalm 46, which some believe to be a hidden tribute to Shakespeare.
Right.
But is there any actual evidence to support his involvement in the translation process?
Well, while the theory has captured the imagination of many, there's no concrete proof to suggest that Shakespeare directly contributed to the King James Bible.
So as we've discussed, it's more likely that a translator aware of Shakespeare's affinity for the Psalms included this subtle nod as a way of honoring the bard.
So it's more of a literary Easter egg than a definitive historical connection.
Exactly. But it still highlights the enduring power of both Shakespeare and the Bible to inspire speculation and invite us to look for hidden meanings within their texts.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that these ancient texts are full of surprises.
They are.
And that there's always more to discover and explore beneath the surface.
Speaking of uncovering hidden depths, let's revisit the story of Sodom and Gomorrah.
Oh, Sodom and Gomorrah. Those cities have become synonymous with sin and divine punishment.
Yeah.
But what if there's more to the story than meets the eye?
You're referring to the theory that a meteor airburst might have been responsible for their destruction, right?
Yes, it's a theory that challenges the traditional interpretation of the event and invites us to consider the interplay between natural phenomena and human beliefs.
Right? Instead of fire and brimstone raining down from heaven, we're talking about a cosmic explosion of epic proportions.
Exactly.
It's a fascinating example of how science can offer a different perspective on events that have long been attributed to supernatural forces.
And it's not about discrediting religious beliefs, but rather about acknowledging the possibility that there might be multiple explanations for these ancient events.
Absolutely. It's about expanding our understanding and embracing the complexity of history and human interpretation.
Speaking of blurring the lines between myth and reality, let's delve back into the concept of hell.
Okay, so we've established that the traditional fire and brimstone imagery of hell might not be entirely accurate based on the original biblical terms.
That's right.
But if Sheol and Hades just refer to the realm of the dead in general,
Right.
what does that tell us about what happens to the wicked after they die?
That's a question that has sparked countless theological debates throughout history. While the Bible doesn't explicitly describe eternal torment in the way we often imagine it, it does use the imagery of fire to symbolize destruction.
So instead of being tortured for eternity, the wicked might be ultimately destroyed.
It is, and it highlights the importance of carefully examining the language and symbolism used in the Bible, rather than relying solely on popular interpretations or artistic depictions.
It also reminds us that there are multiple ways to interpret these ancient texts. And our understanding of these concepts is constantly evolving as we uncover new insights and perspectives.
And now for our final mystery in this part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We're going to confront one of the most terrifying and enduring symbols in the Bible, the apocalyptic vision of the Four Horsemen.
The Four Horsemen, those harbingers of doom, have haunted the imaginations of people for centuries.
War, famine, pestilence, and death, riding forth to bring about the end of the world.
It's definitely a powerful image, and it's hard not to feel a sense of dread when confronted with these symbols of destruction and chaos.
It is.
But what's the story behind these harbingers of the apocalypse? Where do they come from, and what do they represent?
The Four Horsemen are described in the book of Revelation,
Okay.
the final book of the New Testament. They're depicted as riders on horses of different colors, each representing a specific aspect of the apocalypse. War on a red horse, famine on a black horse, pestilence on a pale horse, and death on a white horse.
Yeah, not exactly the kind of entourage you want to run into.
Not at all.
But are they meant to be taken literally as actual beings, or are they metaphors for something else?
That's a question that has been debated for centuries.
It has.
Some interpret the Four Horsemen as literal entities, while others view them as symbolic representations of the evils that plague humanity.
Right.
War, famine, disease, and death have always been with us, and their symbolic presence in Revelation serves as a stark reminder of our vulnerability and the precarious nature of existence.
Well, they could represent things like war, famine, disease, and death in a more general sense,
Exactly.
rather than being actual physical beings.
And this symbolic interpretation allows us to apply the message of the Four Horsemen to different historical periods and contexts.
Interesting.
They become a timeless warning about the destructive forces that can threaten our world, regardless of the specific time or place.
It's a reminder that even though the book of Revelation was written centuries ago,
Right.
its themes and warnings still hold relevance today. We're still grappling with the same issues: war, poverty, disease, and the ever-present reality of death.
Absolutely. And the enduring power of the Four Horsemen lies in their ability to tap into our deepest fears about the fragility of life and the potential for chaos and destruction. It's a chilling thought, but it also serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of striving for peace, justice, and compassion in our world.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this second part of our deep dive, but we're not done yet.
We are not.
There's still more to explore. So join us in part 3, where we'll wrap up our exploration of these fascinating biblical mysteries and leave you with some final thoughts to ponder. All right, so we're back and ready to wrap up our deep dive into the mysteries of the Bible.
I'm ready when you are.
Awesome. Well, we've been talking about a lot of heavy stuff, like the Four Horsemen and the nature of hell.
Right. Those are definitely some thought-provoking topics.
They are. But before we finish, I kind of wanted to circle back to something a little later.
Okay, sure.
Remember our earlier discussion about Shakespeare maybe having a hand in the King James Bible?
Yeah, the Shakespeare and the Psalms theory, it's a classic.
It is, and I think it really captures the imagination because it suggests this hidden connection between two giants of literature.
It's like a literary conspiracy theory.
Right, exactly. And while the evidence doesn't really support Shakespeare being directly involved in the translation,
True.
It's still fun to think about.
It is. It speaks to the enduring power of these texts and the way they continue to inspire us centuries later.
Absolutely.
Oh.
Okay, so let's switch gears back to a more serious topic, the nature of hell.
Right.
We've talked about how the biblical understanding of hell is actually much more nuanced than the popular image of a fiery pit of eternal torment.
Right. The words often translated as hell actually refer to the grave or the realm of the dead, not necessarily a place of endless suffering.
Exactly, and I think that challenges a lot of preconceived notions that people have about the afterlife.
It does, and it also opens up some really interesting questions about what the Bible actually teaches about judgment and the consequences of sin.
Right, it's not as simple as just saying you go to heaven or you go to hell.
Definitely not. There's a lot more complexity there, and I think that's something that's worth exploring further.
Okay, so one last mystery before we wrap things up, the story of Sodom and Gomorrah.
Ah, those infamous cities.
So we all know the traditional interpretation, sin destruction, divine judgment.
Right, a classic cautionary tale.
But what if there's another explanation, one that takes into account the possibility of a natural disaster?
You mean like the meteor theory?
Exactly. Scientists have theorized that a massive meteor airburst could have been responsible for the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah.
And that would certainly explain the sudden and catastrophic nature of the event as described in the Bible.
It would, and it also highlights the fact that sometimes what we attribute to supernatural causes might actually have a scientific explanation.
Right. It doesn't necessarily negate the religious interpretation, but it does offer another perspective to consider.
Well, I think we've covered some really fascinating ground in this deep dive, and I hope our listeners have enjoyed exploring these mysteries with us.
Yeah, it's been a great conversation, and I always love diving into these ancient texts and uncovering new insights.
Me too. And, one of the things that I find so captivating about the Bible is that it continues to challenge and inspire us, even after all these centuries.
It's true. There's always something new to discover, something that speaks to us on a personal level.
And that's what makes it such an enduring and powerful book. So to our listeners, we encourage you to keep exploring, to keep questioning, and to keep searching for the meaning that resonates with you.
Because ultimately, that's what it's all about, finding our own personal connection to these ancient stories.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the mysteries of the Bible.
Until next time.
See you then.